The humble 2017 Nissan Versa, the least expensive car that you can buy new in the United States. In fact, if you were so inclined as to get an absolute base model, which isn't a bad thing, it's a manual transmission with crank windows, so super old school windows, but the entry price is only $12,800 at the MSRP level, including destination, and that's nothing for a brand new car. It's nothing for a few-year-old used car. And so cars, by their nature, they depreciate pretty much year in and year out. So if you just need something to get around, you may as well minimize that depreciation curve and get something that makes the most possible sense. Now, I'm not here to compare the Versa against the class leaders like the Honda Civic, which is a head and shoulders above everything else in the category, but it's also head and shoulders above $20,000. And so there's a big difference between over $20,000 and under $15,000, even with some equipment. And then I think we'll also discover that the Versa isn't half bad, to be brutally honest about it. It's inexpensive, but it's not cheap. Now, how I came across this car is, as you may or may not know, I've recently moved from the mainland to the big island of Hawaii, and I brought my own personal cars, and one of them is this tricked out modified Infiniti twin turbo. Well, that tricked out modified Infiniti twin turbo and I were driving down to Kona, and a truck had a big rock in the back of its bed, and it dropped that rock and it went underneath my car and broke a bunch of stuff. And so the stuff that's underneath my car is all customized, and it's taken 2 months for my car to get through the shop. That's the nature of having a custom car and being on an island 3,000 miles away from the mainland. But let me tell you something, one extreme epiphany that I've had since I've been here on the big island are the nice people at Kona Nissan who have absolutely taken care of me like I've never been taken care of before. My car has been in their shop for 2 months, and they have paid for my rental car for 2 months. That's crazy. If you've ever rented a car for 2 months, you know how expensive that can be. They've been super cool, super courteous, kept me in the loop of every single thing. I just can't plug them enough. If you live on the islands of Hawaii, please reach out to George. He's the general manager there, or Curtis, the service manager. You'll be warmly received and very, very pleased with my recommendation that Kona Nissan is the right store for you. Now, let's take a look at this particular Nissan, this Nissan Versa, not coming in at 600 horsepower like my twin turbo Infiniti, instead coming in at 109 horsepower. And let's pop the hood and take a look underneath. Now, 109 horsepower may not sound like a lot, and the reason is because it's not. And then you match that with an automatic transmission, or in this case a CVT, or continuously variable transmission, and it's simply not fast. And so if power is something that you crave, this is absolutely the wrong car for you. If 38 miles per gallon combined driving like I'm enjoying is what you crave, well, then we might be back in play. This is an SV model, so one thing that's nice about the SV is that the cloth interior is nicer than the base model. This thing's rubbing against your skin all day. You might as well get something nice. Now, this car is technically a subcompact car, but it's pretty darn roomy for a subcompact car. And so I'm 6 feet tall, about 180 pounds, and I'm very, very comfortable. Sporty 3-spoke steering wheel, the controls are right here on the steering wheel. Big, easy to read gauges. This one has an upgraded stereo system. It's not that nice. I'd hate to hear the downgraded stereo system if this is an extra cost item, but whatever, it's just a daily commuter, and it looks right, it feels right, it's spacious, lots of headroom. It's actually pretty nice in the driver's seat. But here's where it happens in the Versa, and this is crazy. Again, a subcompact car with a 6-footer sitting in the front seat, and I have all kinds of room in the back seat. I've never heard of a small car having such enormous legroom in the back. And what's weird about it is that the wheelbase, so that's between the screws in the front wheel and the screws in the back wheel, is a little over 102 inches in this car. You take a look at a car like the class-leading Honda Civic, and it's over 106. So normally, when you have a bigger car on a smaller wheelbase, it's like having too big of a foot on a small roller skate, and the performance is all over the place. No, the performance isn't all over the place on this car. It's balanced, it's nice, it's neutral. Boy, is it sure spacious. Let's take a look at the trunk. Well, that's another thing. So the trunk normally would be small. If the rear seats are set so far back on a limited wheelbase that you have tons of legroom, it must have come at the expense of the trunk. Nope, not the case here either. And so the trunk is huge. It's 14.9 cubic feet. And to give you a comparison, the E-Class Mercedes-Benz, so that's their mid-size $70,000 car, the trunk space is only 13.1. So this is much larger. This is like a whole big suitcase larger than that. And so for growing families who have strollers and Costco and dry cleaning and all the things that are a part of their world, crazy as it sounds, this will swallow it all. This model too has fold down rear seats, 64. Let's jump in front, take a look inside. So cars with tiny engines that put out tiny horsepower connected to automatic transmissions, or in this case CVT. Base models have a traditional automatic transmission, so don't be misled on that, because the traditional automatic transmission gets worse gas mileage than the CVT. This car's never going to be fast. It doesn't matter what you do. You could strap on a supercharger on this thing, it's still going to be slow. You might as well get the CVT and enjoy what I'm enjoying, which is 38 miles per gallon combined driving on this car over the past couple of months. And that's going up hills, down hills, commuting, city, whatever it is. I'm going to get the same gas mileage you're going to get when you're at home, unless you're sitting in lots and lots and lots of traffic. Engines like this, though, tend to be buzzy. That's just the nature of a small engine with an automatic transmission. But the crazy thing is, this isn't buzzy at all. It's slow, but it doesn't feel poorly built. It's not a tenacious handler by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not a bad handler either. There's been a couple of situations where I was running a little bit late for something and I needed to pick up the pace and make something happen. I'm more accustomed to a car that'll get me from A to B as fast as I could possibly dream of going. And so you would think, boy, what a disappointment it must be driving this car. No, you know, I've never been a huge fan of the Versa. Being a buyer for a car dealership, obviously I've bought many, many thousands of cars in my life, and I've bought plenty of Versas. I think the one problem with Versas is that they're so inexpensive that dealers don't make any money. Poor salespeople, they only make a percentage of the profit of any given sale. So if the profit's nothing, that poor salesperson is going to be spending their day with you negotiating all day long to make a percentage of nothing, which is also nothing. And so it's not in their interest to steer you towards the Versa. Instead, they'll steer you towards something that makes a little bit more money. So for dealers, Versas can be a little bit stressful. However, if you're a reasonable shopper and you just say, listen, the MSRP price, that's totally reasonable. God bless. If they make a couple of dollars, shake their hand, buy them lunch. They're doing everything they can to make you happy. This is the kind of car, just pay the money. You don't need to stress out and get the last possible penny off. Have a nice afternoon, go down to the store, pick out the color that makes the most sense to you, and just pull the trigger and make it that easy. You'll be the most popular person in the dealership for a day. Everyone will break their back to take care of you. And if it were me and my money buying this car today, I would be going down to Kona Nissan off Queen K Highway in Kona, and I'm telling you right now, it's the best buy that you'll ever make. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. I'm Joe Tunney from the Fast Lane with Joe Tunney, and you can reach me anytime at joeloveshawaii@gmail.com.